Karoline Leavitt just exposed Oprah Winfrey's hypocrisy, legacy shattered. The night was supposed to be about celebration. The crowd in Studio Grand Light, New York shimmered in luxury. Cameras rolled. Lights glowed like spotlights from heaven. It was the National Honor Gala, the biggest televised event to recognize America's most impactful women. On the guest list were politicians, media moguls, and celebrities, but two names stole the stage: Oprah Winfrey and Karoline Leavitt. Both were being honored for their contributions to society. Oprah, the media queen turned philanthropist. Karoline, the youngest ever White House press secretary, became a lightning rod for conservative youth. Together, they represented two polar worlds, legacy versus revolution. The host beamed under the hot lights. Tonight, he said, voice oozing gravitas, we celebrate strength, compassion, and the power of truth. Karoline Leavitt walked to the podium in silence. No cue music, no applause. Just tension thick enough to suffocate. She looked dazzling, yes, but not in the way red carpet watchers expected. Her eyes rimmed with ice, her jaw clenched. Her right hand clutched a plain black USB drive. Oprah sat across the stage, arms folded, poised, but the slight twitch in her fingers gave it away. Something was coming. Karoline didn't thank the host, didn't mention her award. She stared into the audience, then into the cameras. "This isn't a speech," she said. "This is a reckoning." Whispers fluttered like bats across the studio. "For years, we've idolized people who know how to talk," Karoline continued, tone sharp. "But what happens when their words are a disguise? What happens when the ones we trust betray us?" She raised the USB, clicked a button. The LED wall behind her lit up. An email. The subject line: film discussion, Oprah and Harvey, 2014. She read aloud, "Keep things stable. Don't let small troubles ruin the project." Gasps. Those small troubles. Karoline's voice broke like glass. That was a survivor begging for help, and Oprah told her to stay quiet. Camera cut to Oprah, her lips parted. "That email's been twisted," she said, voice calm but strained. "I worked with Harvey strictly professionally. I knew nothing of the accusations back then." Karoline pressed again. The screen switched to a recorded video. A young actress, Sarah Thompson, face blurred, voice steady. 2012, I met Oprah at a film premiere. Told her what Harvey tried. I begged her to speak up. She said, "There are bigger things to protect." The room turned frigid. After that, the actress whispered I was erased. Oprah stood. Her voice climbed in protest. "I don't remember that girl. I would never silence anyone. This is a personal smear." The audience split, half gasped, half clapped. Some just stared. Karoline stayed still, cold, calculated. "You remember the project, though, don't you? The one that made you millions?" "You." The screen flashed again. A memo. A directive from Weinstein's company. "Handle the Sarah situation quickly. Oprah is concerned." Chaos. Phones raised. Tweets flew. The host tried to regain order. "Miss Leavitt," he stammered. "Do you claim Oprah was complicit in covering for Harvey Weinstein?" Karoline turned eyes steeled. "Not claimed. Prove." She faced Oprah. "You knew. You helped him. You let the world crown you a saint while you protected a predator." The lights dimmed. Cut to commercial. But the damage was done. America wasn't watching a gala anymore. They were watching a battlefield. The camera panned back in slowly as the lights dimmed, heightening the suspense. The host's voice trembled with anticipation. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to witness changes everything." Karoline Leavitt stood dead center on the stage. The spotlight wasn't just shining on her, it was daring her to reveal what had been buried for years. Her expression was steely voice steady. The glimmer of a half-smile curled on her lips, not of amusement but confidence. Across from her, Oprah Winfrey remained composed, dressed immaculately in her signature ivory pantsuit. Her hands were clasped, her expression unreadable. But beneath the poised surface, the tension was obvious. Her eyes twitched with anticipation. Karoline raised a small USB drive high for the cameras to see. "This right here, it's not just data, it's a decade's worth of buried truth." A wave of murmurs swept across the audience. Phones tilted upward, capturing every angle. Hashtags began trending before the reveal even started. With a click, the screen behind Karoline lit up. The first slide appeared an email thread from 2014. Subject line Weinstein Project, Oprah notes. We start with Harvey Weinstein. Karoline said, tone laced with deliberate precision. This email proves Oprah knew everything, and still chose to collaborate, not once. Repeatedly. A sharp breath was heard from the crowd. Oprah's face remained calm, but her grip on the chair's arm tightened. The screen flicked to a highlighted sentence. Keep things quiet, Harvey. Don't let small fires burn the whole field. Those small fires were sexual abuse allegations. You called it a PR inconvenience. Oprah stood slow and deliberate. That email was manipulated. I worked on a film. That's all. Karoline leaned in, voice dropping. Then explain this. A video played next. Sarah Thompson, actress, 30s, visibly emotional. I told Oprah in 2012 in person. I begged her to say something. She smiled, touched my shoulder, and said, there are bigger things to protect. Gasps echoed. Some clapped in disbelief. Others glared. You left her behind, Karoline hissed. You protected a predator to protect your brand. The camera zoomed in on Oprah's face. Her gaze flicked to the floor. For the first time, her legendary calm was cracking. But Karoline wasn't done. We're just getting started, she declared. Next slide, Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. Let's talk about South Africa. Karoline continued 2007 sexual abuse scandal involving staff. Oprah rushed to apologize and promised reform. But what came next? A payoff. And silence. A new video played. Amina Nkosi, now in her late 20s, her voice trembling but determined. I was 14. We begged for help. Oprah came, said she was sorry, but nothing changed. The matron walked free. We were told to forget. The screen darkened. You had the world's eyes on that school, Karoline pressed, and you chose a PR fix over protection. You said they were like your daughters. Would you let your daughters suffer for optics? The audience was in stunned silence. Oprah's eyes were glassy. She stood. I trusted the legal system. I flew across the world to support them. I did not abandon anyone. Karoline's stare pierced through her. You didn't fly back when the girls got threats. You didn't fund therapy. You hired lawyers. You buried it. Some in the audience stood cheering. Others shouted in protest. The room became a battlefield. The host stepped in, trying to cool the atmosphere. Miss Leavitt, the claims are severe. Do you have verification? Karoline nodded. All documents, all testimonies verified, ready for public release. She paused. But I'm not done. One more slide, a man's face. João de Deus, self-proclaimed healer. Once featured on Oprah's show. Later convicted of abusing hundreds of women. You gave him your platform, Karoline said, voice low, heavy with anger. You called him a miracle worker. A new video rolled. Maria Costa, 40s, trembling but resolute. I went to Brazil because Oprah told me he could heal. He assaulted me. I lost everything. The audience gasped. Again, louder this time. Some booed, some wept. Karoline gestured to the screen again, showing own financial records, linking Oprah's team to donations received from João's Institute. You didn't just endorse him, Karoline spat. You profited. Oprah stood, voice sharp. I had no knowledge of that transaction. These documents are taken out of context. Karoline's tone hardened. Context. These women don't need context. They needed protection. You gave them the spotlight and then left them to burn. The lights dimmed. A final slide appeared. A quote from Oprah's 2010 biography. Sometimes you have to protect the bigger picture. Karoline looked out at the crowd. What picture was bigger than these girls? Then their voices. She stepped away from the podium. Tonight wasn't about destroying Oprah. It's about showing what happens when power protects itself. The truth isn't a hit piece. It's a reckoning. The audience roared, some with praise, others with rage, but no one left unaffected. Oprah sat stunned. Her silence said more than words ever could. The battle had just begun. The aftermath of the first revelations had turned the studio into a war zone of opinion. But Karoline Leavitt wasn't here for applause. She was here to dismantle a legacy built on silence. The stage lights returned, and with them a new layer of tension. Karoline stood center stage again, her stance like a fortress. Her face didn't smile. It was focused sharp. "Let's continue," she said, her voice crisp, "because the world deserves more than curated sound bites and controlled narratives." Oprah shifted in her seat. Her public calm was eroding. The press had begun reacting overnight, some hailing Karoline a whistleblower, others branding her a saboteur. But the people weren't leaving their screens. Karoline clicked the screen remote. The studio lit up with a headline, "Own Internal Memo, 2011. This memo, she began, was sent to Oprah's legal team following allegations about João de Deus. It suggests not only knowledge, but strategy. She read aloud, "Monitor fallout in Brazil, delayed comment, prepare a sympathetic interview plan." The room sucked in a collective breath. That interview never happened, Karoline said. But the silence, that was the strategy. Oprah leaned into the microphone. "Managing a platform doesn't mean controlling people's actions. I gave him a chance. I never condoned evil." Karoline didn't flinch. "You called him a conduit of hope. And when women came forward, you vanished." The screen changed again. This time, own budget line 2012, line item João Wellness feature, $500,000. "You didn't just vanish," Karoline said. "You invested, you showcased, you made him a brand." The audience murmured louder now. Some Oprah fans looked devastated. Others clenched their jaws. Karoline wasn't done. "Let's talk about Monique." A wave of recognition swept the room. Oprah's clash with actress Monique had long been internet lore. Now it became evidence. Karoline cued a video Monique on stage. Her voice crackled with raw emotion. "I refused to work for free. They labeled me difficult." Oprah led the whisper campaign. Karoline turned to Oprah. "You told producers to drop her. You branded her a diva and Hollywood obeyed." Oprah's eyes were wide now. "That's false." "I never told anyone to blacklist Monique." Karoline raised a finger. "But you didn't defend her either. You sat on panels, smiled, and watched her career implode." She signaled to the screen. An email loaded. From OW office, subject Monique narrative body. "Let her cool off. We can't afford another star meltdown." Karoline's voice was a blade. This wasn't cooling off. This was exile. The crowd stirred again. A few audience members rose, shouting support. "We see you, Monique." But it didn't stop there. Karoline clicked again. Another victim, another quote. A testimonial from a former OWN intern. She said, "If we wanted to make it in the media, we had to pick a side." Oprah's side. Karoline let the silence stretch. "I don't want you to pick sides," she said. "I want you to choose the truth." Oprah stood trembling now, but defiant. "I've spent my life lifting voices. You cherry-pick emails and turn complex stories into accusations." Karoline's expression was cold. "This isn't cherry-picking. It's accountability. You didn't lift voices, you lifted yourself." The final slide flicked to black and white, a collage of women's faces. Victims. Forgotten. "We're taught to protect our heroes," Karoline said, stepping forward. "But sometimes the hardest truth is this: the person we admired was part of the problem." She placed the remote on the podium. Oprah remained standing, her breathing heavy. Her eyes scanned the crowd. Karoline turned away from her and toward the audience. "This isn't about canceling. This is about reckoning. We don't burn icons, we strip away the lies." The audience sat in shocked stillness. Then applause broke, cautious, uneven, but growing. As Karoline exited the stage, the whispers began again. Not about gossip, but about truth. And truth, once spoken, cannot be unheard. The night hadn't cooled. Outside the studio, social media raged. Inside the stage was still hot with tension. But Karoline Leavitt walked back out steady as ever. She faced the audience. "I know some of you are uncomfortable," she began. "That's good. Truth isn't supposed to be cozy." The lights dimmed. A new video rolled on the massive screen. Testimony. Clara Delamini, OWLAG compliance officer. The South African woman, framed in shadow, spoke slowly. There were rooms with no beds, empty, clean, unused. That school wasn't a sanctuary, it was a facade. Karoline faced Oprah. "You raised $40 million for the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls. You promised empowerment. But instead, what did you empower a photo appeared? It showed a hidden door, a plaque read Reflection Recovery. Karoline narrated that room wasn't in the school plans. Clara found it accidentally. It was locked, soundproofed, and led underground. Audience murmurs turned into gasps. She reported it, but instead of an investigation, she was dismissed. Oprah interrupted. You're twisting details. That school changed lives. You cherry pick anomalies. Karoline's tone sharpened. 17 missing girls, Oprah. 17, found underground in a trance-like state. That's not an anomaly. That's a crime scene. She clicked again. The screen split into mugshots. Security staff, 2 administrative personnel, and 1 cafeteria worker, Lungi. Lungi confessed. She helped keep the girls hidden, fed them, moved them. On whose orders, she wouldn't say. But guess whose name was on her paycheck? The screen zoomed Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy Trust. The room was ice. Oprah stepped forward. That trust funds the whole operation. I don't sign every check. Karoline held up a document. No, but you authorized these expense codes. She read Security Subgroup Section RD17. The host finally spoke, voice shaking. Are you saying these children were imprisoned with donor funds? Yes, Karoline said. And that's not all. The screen darkened. A photo appeared. A piece of paper, handwritten. 17 minus the bright one, Karoline explained, found in the underground room. Clara said one girl was removed shortly before the raid. One girl who resisted programming. Gasps rippled. Resisted programming, Karoline repeated. This wasn't just abuse, it was controlled. Mind, identity, everything. Oprah's voice wavered. This is madness. Why would I... You tell us, Karoline snapped. Because these girls, they weren't rescued by your people. They were rescued during Trump's 2019 South Africa tour by his security team who made a surprise stop. She showed footage, grainy but clear U.S. agents escorting dazed girls from a school building. It wasn't viral footage. It was never released until now. You buried it, Karoline said. Why silence? Oprah said nothing. Because it didn't fit the brand, Karoline whispered. The host tried to regain control. Let's return to the facts. These are facts, Karoline snapped. A final clip played, a girl face, hidden voice altered. We were told we were special, that Oprah chose us, but we lived in silence. One day they took my roommate. She never came back. Karoline turned to the audience. They were chosen, but not for the future, for something else. Oprah finally spoke. Her voice was low. If any of that is true, then I was misled too. I never saw those rooms, never signed off on that abuse. Karoline stared at her. You didn't look. That's the point. The audience didn't cheer. They didn't boo. They sat frozen. Karoline walked slowly off stage. Not victorious, just exhausted. Behind her, Oprah sat silent. For the first time in decades, she had no answer. The air inside the studio had grown heavy, thick with tension and disbelief. Cameras kept rolling. Every word spoken was now global, every movement dissected across live streams and comment threads. Karoline Leavitt stood tall on the podium, her expression unshaken. Her tone had shifted, no longer just an exposé, it was now Judgment Day. We're not done, she said flatly. Let's talk about what was never supposed to see daylight. She pressed the remote and a short email appeared on the screen from Oprah. ExecPR, own.com. Subject, Urgent Monique. Control the narrative. Silence her. Our brand cannot afford a rogue actress. Gasps, then silence. Oprah blinked. What is this? Oprah leaned forward, voice raised. That's out of context. Karoline tilted her head slightly. Is it, though? Because this next part isn't. She tapped again. A private audio recording began to play, Oprah's voice unmistakable. She wants more money for the press. Cut her out. She'll learn. The studio burst into reactions, claps of disbelief, stunned silence. Others cursed under their breath. Oprah stood up now, posture tightening. You're not painting a picture, you're slandering me. Karoline held up her hand like a referee. And yet the paintbrush is yours. All I did was turn on the lights. She walked to the edge of the stage, locking eyes with the crowd. This isn't about politics anymore. It's about patterns, abuse of influence, a career spent silencing, not lifting. The LED screen behind her shifted to another name, Maria Costa. A clip rolled Maria, now middle-aged, crying softly. Oprah told us Joas was a healer. I believed her. I trusted her. That trust got me hurt. The audience sat frozen. The betrayal was hitting in waves. You told millions to believe in a man who was later accused by over 300 women. Then you vanished when it came crashing down, Karoline said. Oprah shook her head, eyes narrowing. I didn't know. No one did. Karoline snapped, you didn't want to know. There it was, undeniable conviction, not yelled, just delivered, like a blade of ice. The moderator tried to intervene. Ladies, please, let's stay civil. Karoline ignored him. Now, she continued, let's take a walk through the academy in South Africa, the one Oprah called her legacy. Photos appeared. Girls in uniforms, a sunlit courtyard, then another switch, police reports, allegations, screenshots of messages from students to staff ignored. A shaky handheld video showed a crying teenager. I told her. I begged her. She said, keep quiet. We don't want the media here. The crowd collectively flinched. Oprah's hands were shaking now, gripping the chair arm tightly. You've had decades to protect girls, but when you were needed most, you shielded yourself. She turned to the audience. That's not empowerment. That's empire maintenance. Oprah tried to respond, but Karoline raised the final hammer. You paid off Virginia's legal team in 2007. We have the wire transfer. We have the dates. You buried the abuse scandal. Oprah's jaw dropped. Her words stumbled. That's manipulation. The audience was done murmuring. Now they were whispering conclusions. Karoline gestured to the screen again, this time filled with names Monique, Maria, Amina, Sarah. Victims' allies silenced, a web of receipts all pointing to the same center. She walked to the center stage, arms down but powerful. You built an empire of silence, but people remember pain. A beat passed, and then Oprah cracked. Not broke, cracked. Her voice trembled. I made mistakes. I trusted the wrong people, but I never meant to hurt anyone. Karoline walked closer, not aggressive, just resolute. Intent doesn't erase the consequence. The crowd rose in tension, then the final blow, a new clip. An internal own staff Zoom meeting from 2020. Karoline's digging. Don't worry, we'll smear her if she goes public. The room lost control. Oprah's PR staff had tried to intimidate her. It was all recorded. This is your legacy now, Karoline said. Let's hope the next generation learns from it. Lights dimmed. The episode would go viral within hours. Trending hashtags, outrage, support, betrayal. Oprah left the studio through the back door. Silent. The Titan fell not by politics, but by truth. The hours following the broadcast were nothing short of seismic. The video exploded online. Within the first 10 minutes, it racked up 1.4 million views. By midnight, Oprah Exposed was the #1 trending topic worldwide. Inside the White House press office, Karoline Leavitt sat alone, her phone buzzing relentlessly. Her inbox was full of media requests, threats, and support in equal measure. A team of legal advisors crowded the hallway. The communications director looked at her with cautious respect. They're calling you the whistleblower of the decade, he said. Karoline didn't smile. Outside, late-night pundits scrambled to respond. Left-wing outlets tried to downplay the evidence, calling it politically motivated. Right-wing channels replayed her takedown of Oprah like it was a national victory. But to Karoline, it wasn't about sides, it was about truth. She stared out the window as flashes from cameras below lit up the street. Protesters had already gathered. Some held signs reading "Justice for Amina." Others read, "Oprah is innocent." Meanwhile, OBWIN's headquarters descended into chaos. Emails leaked, internal memos surfaced confirming Karoline's evidence. Staffers whispered about resignations. Sponsors pulled out. Several board members issued statements of deep concern. Oprah hadn't spoken publicly since the show. Her legal team issued a terse press release. Ms. Winfrey denies the accusations. All documents and audio presented are under review. But silence was its own verdict. Karoline took to the podium at the White House the next morning. Sunlight spilled through the curtains, catching the glint of the flashbulbs. "I'm not here to dance in the ashes," she began. "I'm here because women like Sarah, Amina, Maria, and Monique deserved better." A few reporters shouted questions. "Was this politically timed? Is this a Trump-backed hit job?" Karoline raised her hand. "You want politics? Here's politics. Covering up systemic abuse with PR is political. Silencing girls for optics is political. Smearing victims to protect revenue streams that's not just wrong. That's evil." The room went quiet. This was never about destroying a black icon. It was about breaking the myth that icons can't fall. The following week saw a flurry of investigations. The South African government reopened the Olag abuse case. A New York Times exposé confirmed Oprah's financial connections to Joas. Monique gave her first interview in years where she simply said, "Finally, Hollywood cracked. Celebrities once silent began to speak. Some defended Oprah, others quietly distanced themselves. A-list actors pulled their projects from OWN. The Academy announced an ethics probe into past award lobbying practices. Social media was ablaze. Reddit threads dissected every frame of the broadcast. TikToks reenacted the confrontation. Memes flew like bullets. But amid the chaos, survivors began to speak. Sarah Thompson tweeted, "You gave me back my voice at Karoline USA. I cried watching you speak. Thank you." Amina posted a video. "This is not just about Oprah. This is about how many voices we silence for the comfort of power." Days turned into weeks. Oprah re-emerged only once in a pre-recorded message. "I have spent my life building stories that uplift. I did not always make the right decisions. But I am not the villain." The video was met with a storm of reactions. Some applauded the humility. Others demanded more. Karoline did not respond publicly, but privately she prepared. A congressional inquiry into celebrity foundations was announced. Whistleblower protections were extended to entertainment insiders, and more people came forward, former staffers, interns, minor actors. Each added bricks to the growing wall of truth. One night, Karoline visited her childhood church. Alone in the pew, she whispered a prayer. "God help me not lose myself in all this. Let truth matter more than power." She walked outside. A woman waited for her near the gates. "Are you Karoline?" she asked. Karoline nodded. "My daughter went to Olag. She's not ready to speak, but she wanted to thank you." Karoline swallowed the lump in her throat. "Tell her I believe her, and I won't stop." Months later, Congress subpoenaed Oprah to testify. She declined, citing legal reviews. But the damage was done. Books were pulled. Documentaries were in the works. Her once spotless legacy was stained, not obliterated, but now contested. In a private interview, a reporter asked Karoline if she'd do it all again. "Yes," she said, because the empire of silence needed to fall. The final scene wasn't applause. It was a quiet resolve. In the annals of media history, Karoline Leavitt's confrontation would stand as a rare, raw, unstoppable moment where truth, not celebrity, won.